Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the classic world of darkness. We're all friends, we're here to have fun, but our story can include graphic violence, drug use, sexual content, and other mature themes. We've talked at our table about safety, comfort, and consent both as players and storytellers. We know what to expect, we're all excited to be here, and we want you to feel the same, so listener discretion is advised. Now, let's walk the Path of Night.
Last time on Path of Night. Tensions ran high as the coterie drove to Salem to meet with Arabella Rowlands and retrieve the Ur-Codex from an abandoned Tremere chantry. Finding the chantry sunk deep into the earth, the coterie and a pair of Arabella's Tremere allies descended into the broken mansion, only to be met by stone guardians and a terrifying presence stalking them in the dark. Way off in the dark, you hear,
"Who has come here?"
So when we pick up, it is the group of you in the dark, accompanied by Carrie and Constance. Squaring off against you is a pair of these big, gray, stone-skinned dogs. I use the term dog loosely because the way their ears are tucked back kind of has the sensation of, like, the impression of frills and spines, and has spikes that go down. They're like, that their spines, their shoulder blades kind of like actually make like jutting stone edges. Their tails, while standing straight like an angered dog, have a series of small razor-like bones attached to them. They growl, their eyes glow red in the dark. When you immediately recognize that these monsters, whatever they are, specifically no protean.
They definitely give me vibes like they were sent by Goza to find the Keymaster.
Yeah. They're probably almost as big. And they kind of move with the intentions of encircling and killing the group of you. When this body language is not like an actually natural-born dog. Whatever this is, it was constructed. So now...
So animalism is probably not going to work on
Animalism is probably not going to work on these things. So we're going to pick up with the group of you making initiative rolls.
Do we have time to spend blood?
Yep.
Can we see the voice or can we only see the dogs?
You can't see the voice, no.
Okay. 18.
Johnny, you got?
16. And a celerity spent for a single extra action.
Wynn.
8.
Miles.
19 with 1 celerity spent for an action.
Oh yeah, I have 1 celerity spent for an extra action as well.
Neil.
14. I thought I rolled pretty good, but...
Honestly, our
got a couple people with celerity now. But...
Our coterie's popping off with our fucking initiative.
That's
Yes,
that's one.
all of us.
That's one less than my max. I'm not gonna.
My base initiative was 11, to be fair,
I mean, that's still pretty good.
with the quick draw.
For me, it's usually 10 plus die roll.
All right, we are starting with Miles. What are you doing?
This thing is not seen yet, so I will draw and strike in 1 movement as part of my quick draw as the closest of the 2 stone dogs. 5 successes.
4 carryover roll damage.
Goddamn Musashi Davenport over here.
Thank you. That'll be 5 successes.
Okay, it looks pretty wounded by the strike. It kind of gives like the monstrous equivalent of like a dog's whimper. It bares its teeth, and behind its teeth you can kind of see other rows of like black obsidian-like teeth.
So I guess I'd position myself to defend the inevitable attack from something as we go along here.
Britta.
Britta's going to attempt to dread gaze the one that Miles did not attack.
You bare your fangs. Mm-hmm. Dread gaze it. It seems unfazed by your attempt to strike fear into it.
Seeing that Miles has gone on the offensive, Britta turns to the other dog-like creature, and though she lets her vampiric nature show, it doesn't seem to have any reaction, and she kind of like amps it up a bit and watches in confusion as it has no reaction.
Johnny
is going to leap on top of the one that did not get struck with a katana and attempt to pin it with a grapple. 7 successes.
You successfully grab a hold of and it feels like you're wrestling a marble statue.
Understood.
Everything's completely solid. It has all of the weight that you would have expected. This thing is made from like solid stone. Neil.
We can't directly see the big thing that's coming at us, but we kind of know it's there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Neil's going to sort of look down the hallway. I watch everybody sort of spring into combat action faster than he can react. I just look down the hallway and, hey, it's okay. We're allowed to be here. You don't have to. This doesn't have to be a fight. Hi, I'm Neil, and just kind of talk to whatever it is down the hallway. And as he's doing that, going to use passion to just try and keep it kind of calm and chill, so everybody can.
Okay, give me a roll.
The difficulty is based on its humanity or path rating.
Difficulty 4.
Whoa.
5 successes.
Okay. You succeed with 5 successes. Things move to the dogs. The first dog is going to attempt to break free of Johnny's hold. It will be utilizing its potence.
So that's going to be an opposed brawl plus strength plus potence.
Yes.
7 successes.
You both tie. It does not break free of your hold.
I had 3 ones on that roll. Whoa. Feels good being a strong boy. Johnny kind of threw gritted fangs. No, you don't.
It growls and gnashes its teeth at you. Miles will attempt to return the favor.
I will spend my other action to parry.
It has 8 successes to attack.
Boy, oh boy. 8, 9 successes.
Blessed by your friend Arabella, the enchanted sword parries the massive dog made of stone.
Holy shit, dude. That was an amazing parry.
I have to actually confirm one thing because it does have a very high strength rating. You have strength 3?
I have strength 3 right now.
Then you are able to parry.
Nice.
Strength 2 or less cannot. That is the dogs, so we go to Wynn.
Question about how this would work. If Johnny's got something grappled, can I smack it?
Yes, you can.
All right, that's the plan. Wynn's going to pop claws and...
If you do it from behind, you get some bonus dice.
From behind, she will attempt to grapple, or not grapple, she will attempt to take a swing at the grappled stone dog.
Sounds good. Why don't you go ahead and give me an attack roll?
4 successes.
Okay, 3 dice are going to carry over.
Okay.
So you're looking at strength plus 3. And then claws add an extra plus 1 die of damage.
I think she has the
I
bigger
have
claws.
the Fenrir claws.
I think that's 3 dice of damage.
Yeah.
So you're rolling strength plus 6 dice.
Okay. 5 damage.
It'll take 3 levels of aggravated damage. You start rending into it, and if you're digging through stone, concrete and like marble, it's some unusual alien stone. But even as you're digging through, you can see that it's got like veins made of stone, muscle tissue made of stone, bones made of stone.
There's nothing natural about this.
There's nothing natural about this. Miles, your celerity action, sir.
I aborted to defend.
Oh, yes, you did. We will go to Britta.
That is 6 successes.
5 will roll over into damage. You hit. But I'm sorry, which one are you shooting at?
I'm shooting at the one that got a katana to it.
Okay.
5 successes.
It takes the blow, and the bullets seem to ricochet off of it. Even like the armor-piercing rounds don't seem to be having an impact on this walking slab of stone.
So Britta, noticing that dread gaze will have no effect, shifts stance, takes aim with her assault rifle, and gets a few shots in that ought to be lethal. Instead, they tear up the room as they knock off this dog creature.
So Johnny has an interesting idea. I have this thing grappled. What I want to do is widen out into a horse stance, straighten out my back, and lift it up into a suplex onto the other dog. I figure if these things are resilient, maybe they'd be good to break each other with.
Go ahead and give me a roll.
I'd like to note that the potential for ricochet is why I didn't shoot the one with Johnny.
Appreciated. 5 successes to suplex.
4 dice carry over.
I'll spend a blood to convert the 4 potence into damage.
Okay.
With the 4 potence converted over, that's 7 damage.
Okay. The first one takes 4. The one that you're hitting with The stone dog takes 4. And then the stone dog you hit takes all of it. Between you and Wynn, the first stone dog goes down. And the big one that you're holding goes limp in your hands.
That was the most successful suplex I've ever made in a game.
I'm very happy it was in ours. It was a sweet move.
Garrett's been trying suplexes for decades.
Britta's hit with 6 successes on a slam maneuver.
Oh no, Britta's getting welcome to the jam.
Britta is hit for 8 levels of lethal damage. You're going to want to go ahead and roll some soak on that.
How do you roll soak again?
Stamina plus any bonus dice from armor.
Does that layer with the jacket?
Yeah.
Okay, so the leather jacket's 1 additional die?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 4 successes.
Okay. Britta suffers 4 levels of lethal damage as she is slammed into the stone wall. Now in view, towering at nearly 8 feet tall, is this massive horned monster with big leathery wings. And its entire form is made from the same stone as these dogs, except it's bipedal. It has a long tail that kind of like moves and assists with balance, and has glowing red eyes. Britta, you can feel claws like the same sort that Wynn used to frequently use, kind of dug up into your neck. And he turns looking at Johnny with this completely vengeful expression after Johnny knocked out his dog.
Oh God, we got the John Wick of gargoyles.
Oh no.
Say that shit.
Round 2.
Am I considered grappled?
Yes.
Okay.
I had performed a slam maneuver.
Okay.
So it gets like lots of bonus dice and you're like pinned.
Yep.
Acting on a 22, the gargoyle presses its claws up into Britta's throat and kind of gives this warning look. He will hold his actions to preempt anyone that attempts to act against him. We will go to Miles.
I turn back while leaving the hand of the katana, like, we just mean to enter the domain to get something to help the outside world.
You are not welcome.
I'm sure, but I think we can come to some sort of agreement.
No.
What would you like then?
No trespassers.
Britta.
So, what I would like to do is slowly go limp while looking at him, and I'd like to be functionally, that's my appearance spec, but I feel like it's more, I feel like it happens that there's doe eyes, but that's not exactly the role that I'm trying to go for here. Essentially, what I'm trying to do with my body language as I go limp and I drop the gun down, if I even am able to hold it, is to look towards this creature and say, "Can we talk about this?"
He kind of gives like this frustrated noise. As for some reason, the rage it leans on to fight is kind of stolen from it.
No people here. This place is mine to protect.
Yours? We weren't told it was yours.
This is my home.
How long have you been here?
He doesn't completely understand the question, but tosses you, and Britta goes sailing off into the dark and tumbles far, far away.
Mr. Guardian, while this is yours and we don't mean to trespass, but we do need something here. So is there any way we could help you with something that might be bothering you here?
Nothing here should leave.
Johnny kind of, seeing Britta get tossed off in the darkness, takes a step forward, an aggressive step forward towards the gargoyle, cracks his knuckles, and goes, "All right, big boy, you want a shot at the belt? I'll give it to you. But we're here with the Tremere." And he points over at Constance and Carrie.
They kind of like give this little kind of this cocky, cruel smile and like little wave to the gargoyle. And you visibly see his ears sort of kind of tuck back, and he takes a few steps away into the dark.
By nothing leaves, what about, I mean, I don't know about everybody else. I'm actually really curious. Do you think you could just show us around while we're here? You probably haven't had company in a while.
Don't want company.
Are you sure? Because I know what it's like to be kind of like just, lonely and like living in a basement, and just I don't know if you're curious, if you that'd be cool. But I get it if you don't.
It kind of like lowers its head.
Johnny backs away from the dogs that he's put down to give them space and kind of like give the body language that if the gargoyle wants to go tend to them, he can.
Catching on to what you're doing, Constance extends a hand and begins to speak in Latin. When she does, the dogs are kind of swept away by some unseen telekinetic energy, and they kind of just go tumbling off against the wall. The gargoyle kind of like twitches, but seems completely unwilling to challenge the will of the Tremere. It's then that Carrie reaches out and rests a hand on Johnny's bicep. It's okay. We have control of this. It's just a gargoyle. Why don't we just move on? He's not going to do anything. That was really nice, by the way, what you did there.
Johnny kind of cocks an eyebrow at the attention that they're giving him.
The hand does not leave your bicep.
He gives an uncomfortable glance over to the rest of the coterie.
Wynn kind of doesn't take any aggressive step forward, but kind of tilts her head and calls Britta.
Where am I?
You are way down the hallway.
Can I see her with protean eyes?
Yes.
Okay.
She basically smashed into some debris.
Okay.
And you can kind of see her kind of like looking around, getting her bearing and finding the light source that was Johnny with the torch.
So I assume Britta like smacks into the wall and mostly is just trying to take this moment to recollect herself. So I'm going to ask how healing lethal with blood works.
1 for 1.
And are you able to do it over time all at once, or how does it work
You're not in
timing-wise?
rounds, so you can spend however you want.
Okay. So I honestly think then that as this is happening, she is taking a moment to kind of like curl by the wall and just focus on putting her blood towards the purpose of mending her body, because she recognizes that she is not all right. She can see through her ribs.
Yeah, Britta can hear the sounds of her bones snapping into place as her ribs kind of reconstitute themselves.
And I am going to heal all of that for 4 blood.
Okay. The gargoyle kind of crouches down and starts tending to his big, like, horrible stone monsters.
I think we're safe to proceed now, so I'll slide my katana and then check around to see where everybody is and start moving towards where Britta is.
Britta kind of stumbles up, still healing, and you can see like the volume of blood that she's had to put towards the mending the rips into her body and towards her throat. She looks a little more vampiric, a little more hungry, but she's still got some level of control over that hunger.
I've got eyes on her. She looks like she's up.
While Carrie's got a hand on Johnny's bicep, Constance heads over to the gargoyle, and she rests both of her hands on the monster's like cheeks, forcing him to look at her. And then she begins to speak in Latin. Does anyone here speak Latin?
No.
Okay, nope. The gargoyle gives like a nod. Where he was once kind of like vicious and battle-hardened, he seems completely subservient to the witch. After giving this nod, she lets go of him, and he seems to meld into the wall, and this weird outline of this huge winged monster can kind of be seen in the stone, and that image moves, like flying through the stone away.
Britta goes to pick up her gun to recollect herself, and as she's looking towards the wall, that must have been who we saw before.
Well, I'm hoping there isn't another one.
Next time, could you two please talk to it first?
They kind of look between each other and shrug.
Johnny kind of pulls his arm away, gives a hard glance at them, and goes, "I'd appreciate if you heeded my coterie mate's words."
Yeah, we're totally listening. It's just, Miles agreed that you guys would be the muscle, not us.
We didn't need muscle right then.
I don't know. It's all muscle.
We can get into that debate later. We've got shit to do now.
All right, you guys are back on then. She kind of gives Wynn a thumbs up.
Johnny flashes a snarl at the two of them and kind of heads back over to where we're headed down the hall.
The two Tremere kind of whisper back and forth to each other in Latin, and otherwise follow closely behind you, seemingly focusing on Johnny as their, personal protector, while the rest of you wade through debris and have to find your paths through these lopsided hallways.
Britta's trying to smooth out her dress, but even the sweater beneath it has been completely ruined. There's no way to get back to, like, looking sort of prim. She's looking around at the coterie, and her eyes land on Neil. And she says, "Please tell me that we have a higher rate of having our ribs on the outside than other vampires."
If it makes you feel any better, in 30 years since my embrace, it's only ever happened to me once. I don't get in a lot of fights, though.
'Cause we can't get into a fight with him.
No, that is not. No, we should absolutely not do that.
I mean, that could have killed me. I felt it. I was able to maybe block a little bit of it, or maybe sent me into torpor. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he, I mean, the way he moves through walls like that, he could just hit and run tactics like a shark all day, and, what are we supposed to do about it? Basically nothing. So hopefully nothing really is a problem here. I'm hoping that he is under their control and that is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then in Arabic, we'll whisper to Britta, because he has no idea what languages Britta speaks. We'll just whisper something to Britta in Arabic while they're chattering in Latin, kind of hoping that maybe she understands what he's talking about.
Anything I don't know about Lex?
Britta?
Lex?
The language he's speaking does sound very familiar to you, but you have trouble making out exactly what he's saying.
It sounds familiar as in I know it's Arabic, or sounds familiar as in I almost catch myself understanding?
Like you almost catch yourself understanding.
All right. So as Neil whispers in Arabic, Britta gets a strange expression on her face as she kind of traces out the steps in front of her. The kind of expression that someone makes when they're very close to remembering something and it's bothering them. So she's trying to focus on the idea of what he's saying, but it might not seem to click. She turns and she looks at you, and she scans your expression, trying to figure out what you're up to.
His eyes flick over towards the Tremere as they're sort of, clucking around Johnny. He looks, simultaneously disappointed and curious that we don't seem to be understanding what he's saying. And then just gives sort of a little shrug and back in English is like, yeah, I'm hoping we can all get this done quickly and safely. And there's not a whole lot more for us to do here.
There's a strange motion from Britta at that. Britta's eyes go from Neil to the two Tremere, and she kind of straightens up and she stops messing with the destruction in her clothes. As she follows the slight hint that she's getting, she takes a hairband off her wrists and ties her hair up out of the way while she's looking at the Tremere. Almost like you might when you're looking at a problem. And after, her ponytail swings, done and ready, she looks to Miles. And she says, "All right. Do we know how much deeper we have to get in here?"
No, I was hoping maybe Neil might be able to see something in the patterns to let us get an idea about this place and where we might find the Ur-Codex.
Britta tilts her head to Neil.
I don't know. If I got a sense of, we know that there are 3 libraries in this place, and that the Ur-Codex is in one of the libraries. This place was an insane, Spencer mansion that has collapsed in a very particular way. So Neil stops and sort of looks around at his surroundings as best as the torchlight and his heightened senses will allow him to try and get a sense of maybe where they should be going, with no understanding of whether or not that's something that would even work
Eyes
out.
of Chaos?
I will be using Eyes of Chaos. Famously unreliable. What diff do you want on this?
Difficulty 8.
Okay, so difficulty 3. 9 successes.
You kind of focus, and underneath where you guys are gathering, the group of you kind of notice that Neil's attention seems to focus on it. And he gets down on his knees and he rests his hand on the dirt and grime covered floor, which used to be the wall. Neil, you can feel a warmth and the scent of brimstone. And it kind of occurs to you, the deeper you go, the hotter it's going to get. And the Ur-Codex is where it's hottest.
So Neil gets down on his knees and puts his hand, like rubs it in the grime. And then sort of like he realizes that this is the wall, even though it's supposed to be the floor that they're walking on. Or rather, it is the floor that they're walking on. It's supposed to be a wall. Sort of lays on his side with his shoulder on the ground and puts his feet up on the wall. Like he's sort of walking sideways, Inception style. And I was like, oh, okay, this makes a lot more sense, actually, when you look at it this way.
Johnny, who has since recovered the torch that dropped the second the fighting with the stone dogs began, he's kind of just tilting his head and looking down at Neil. Kind of gives a shake and looks over at Wynn with a skeptical look and kind of just continues watching what he's doing.
Wynn kind of gives Johnny a shrug like, hey, this is just what he does.
So, look, I mean, and he looks at, from his position on the floor for a second, he looks at Britta and then looks over at the Tremere and then looks back at Britta. He's like, we green? Super green. You guys, Fifth Element? You guys seen Fifth Element? I was like, okay. It doesn't matter.
Neil, I've never seen most things.
I know. I wish you had seen that, though, or would see that. And then starts, sort of pseudo-walking, but he's not, like, athletic enough to fucking sideways walk. And then gets back up and goes, yeah, okay, so if we keep going down, like, this is the... He looks over at Garrett. You said there were 3 libraries in this place?
Yeah.
Okay, which one's the lowest one?
She kind of thinks about it.
Either physically or metaphorically.
Probably right wing.
Okay. I think that's probably the way we're gonna go then. Down the steps to hell.
Well, that wasn't ominous or anything.
Yeah.
Great. So, can you help lead us to there? You got an idea?
No, I don't know. This place is destroyed, but I can probably figure it out. I mean,
Great.
I can get an idea, maybe.
Johnny, noticing that we're, for the first time, that the hallway has unnaturally turned so that we're walking on the walls, kind of puts together that there very well might be a pit coming up when we get to the end of this hallway into like a T, and kind of looks over to Wynn. Are you going in front or am I?
If you go in front, everyone else can see.
All right. If this is a hall just like Neil pointed out, everybody watch their step, because this might just fall away to nothing.
I don't really want to be anywhere near the torch, but Johnny, I'll walk next to you if you want some.
Johnny kind of
eyes up
pushes
front.
past everybody. He stops when he walks past Britta, kind of like nods to the new character scuffed into the side of the jacket she's wearing. Kind of gives her a knowing nod, walks past Miles and kind of like taps him on the back, gets to the front and starts slowly moving down the hallway, being very careful to look out for us where we might just find a pit.
Neil moves to walk with Johnny because he's got better eyes than Johnny's got. And as he moves near Britta, does the like point at your eyes, point at her eyes thing, and does his like really bad imitation of like a Ruby Rod backwards walk. He goes, super green. And then looks back over at the Tremere again before like turning around and following Johnny.
Is that a show or?
It's a movie, Britta. It's a space movie.
I don't remember if I've seen it.
It's about saving the world from evil.
As you guys are talking, you come to a right turn in the hallway, which is actually a terrible pit that seems to kind of drop straight down. And when you look down, the torch does not seem to make it quite far enough in terms of illumination. And when you look up, you see kind of the similar thing but going straight up. And you start to wonder just how deep you've gone at this point.
Is there a passage forward besides the pit?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Do we see the sky upwards, or does there appear to be some form of ceiling?
There's no light up there.
Okay.
Johnny moves the torch around to see if there's maybe a sconce somewhere on the ground that we've walked past, or maybe on the ceiling.
So you've stepped over doors, and you have stepped over a sconce.
Hey, somebody snatch up one of those sconces for me.
Wynn bends down and just kind of pulls it off the wall.
With a kind of like a wet noise, it all kind of pulls up.
He touches the burning torch to the new one that she's grabbed, and tries to light it on fire.
It lights. Neil, despite the presence of the 2 torches, it is down there that feels warmest.
I was about to ask if this is a T, but it's been twisted so one goes up and one goes down. Neil's going to sort of look to see which wall the floor is on to tell you which way is the right wing. And it goes straight down. So Neil looks around in the torchlight. The gulp that he gives would be almost comical if it wasn't actually deeply afraid. And he just points a finger down the pit.
Johnny kind of nods knowingly. The new torch we've made looks like it's got more life than the one that I've been using, right?
Yes.
So Johnny tosses the torch he's been using down the hall to see how far down it goes.
You drop the torch, and it kind of goes for a bit. Then you notice a few strange things. There are tunnels that have been burrowed through the walls. Whatever did it is probably about the size of, like, at least in terms of, like, width, is like that of, like, a dump truck. There's just these, like, Swiss cheese holes in the walls. And far enough down, it eventually clatters against big bronze doors that are kind of covered in muck and dirt. Neil, you definitely immediately get the sense that those bronze doors are the library you're looking for. And they're, like, pitted with, like, acid, and, like, it does not look good. You get bad feelings.
Okay, so, good news. If this thing is still here, it's down there. It's through those doors. Bad news. Literally everything else.
What do you think burrowed those holes?
That, I don't know, whatever it is has some sort of, you ever seen Alien?
Yeah.
Like, you know how the blood just eats its way through the metal and...
Sure.
Yeah.
Great. So whatever's down there has acid blood.
Oh, I don't know. Don't ask me like I'm sure.
Well, that's what you just said.
We might, yeah,
Johnny
but I'm
shoots,
clearly...
Johnny shoots a glance back at our Tremere companions.
They actually seem pretty distracted and are just kind of letting you guys do all the work.
He frowns, looks back.
So is there a way down? Besides climbing down the shaft?
Judge, how far down is that shaft?
Probably 300 feet.
Do we have any rope?
300 feet of it?
No.
Well,
I do not.
if
That was not on the list of things we asked.
actually, Johnny bought 50 feet of rope.
I do remember us
Classic.
joking about that.
He's probably got it tied around his chest,
Like a bandolier?
like a bandolier on the shoulder. I think probably the axe is actually like tied up in the rope to carry it. Judging some of the tunnels, do those look like I might be able to catch with 50 feet of rope?
Yeah, you think so.
Okay,
Johnny, if you want, give me the end of the rope and I'll fly down.
that would make sense, and then I can secure the top,
Yeah.
and then I can jump down to the tunnel. Yeah. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to go from tunnel to tunnel to get down the length of this. We'll have you grab the end of the rope, fly down to there. I'll be the anchor point, and you guys will all shimmy down the rope. All right?
I guess.
I mean, I don't like this, but do you have a better idea?
Unless you think there might be an easier methodology. This is the fastest, but...
I'm not a strong climber.
I mean, I can also just fly down and do recon, and we see if this is actually...
Right, if it's something
Well-
that shows up on you, we have no way to help you out at that point.
I know. It's not a good idea, it's just an idea.
So I guess the question is, do we go down here, or do we want to go look for stairs?
I don't think this place is designed with stairs in mind.
I think
that,
if...
this place was a multi-tiered mansion. There's got to be stairs somewhere. I just
Yeah,
don't
but
know if
they're-
it leads to where we
they're
want.
gonna
Hold
be
on, hold on,
MC
hold on,
Escher
hold on,
stairs.
hold on. Neil looks over at the Tremere. Hey, you like threw those dogs around with your mind earlier. Can you just like lift people down to the bottom,
I could.
please?
All right, fine. Who wants to be lifted? She looks like really annoyed.
I mean, I'd rather do that than climb, because I'm not a good climber.
Okay, who wants to be lifted?
Neil puts his hand up like a kid in elementary school.
The first people down there should probably be either Wynn or myself. Probably Wynn, because she can get back out of there.
And I can see in the dark without a torch.
You all right with that?
No, but I don't think we have a lot of options.
I'm sorry to put your name first on this.
It's what my name is for, man.
He kind of gives you a half-hearted smile.
So Wynn spends the blood, passes her bag to Johnny, so all of her gear is still not bound into her, and she gradually shifts, her body creaks and cracks and unnaturally shifts until it's smaller and smaller, and until she is a bizarre-looking barn owl with snake fangs and cobra patterns on her head.
The world's raddest Van mural.
You know what?
Eagle Fang.
I was just thinking, you're almost there. You're straight up the Eagle Fang karate symbol. Oh, no.
And Wynn kind of gives a nod and flies down to the first tunnel.
Okay. The woman begins gesturing again and speaks in Latin. And unless you're resisting,
I am not.
Neil gets telekinetically lifted off the ground, gets brought to the tunnel, and kind of gets tossed in.
Wynn dodges out of the way of the flying Malkavian.
Neil lands like pretty close right beside you.
She kind of cocks her head like, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. They are now like 300 feet away from us, right?
Yeah.
I thought we were 50 feet away. We were going down to the first.
I think they're not gonna.
Oh,
wait for that.
they skipped the rope.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Are you okay?
She nods.
Hey, okay, so I don't know what the plan is here for us to do next. But I wasn't. I just want you to know. And he kind of whispers to Wynn now that they're like 300 feet away, but he knows that Auspex means they could maybe still be heard. I was not being metaphorical when I was talking about hell. Just as an FYI, through those doors.
Wynn's head kind of tilts slowly like, okay.
Just, I'm also not strong enough to open these doors. I do think we need Johnny down here at this point. I'm going to look around while we figure out how to get everybody else down here. Getting back out might be an issue, but,
Okay, so who's next?
Alrighty. Britta steps forward. She does not look super comfortable with the concept, but she's still got her arms wrapped around herself like she's expecting to get tossed again, but she's stepping forward.
She gestures again and seems to be casting the same spell.
Mm-hmm.
And you are lifted up off the ground, brought to the tunnel, and she telekinetically moves you down. This time probably a little more slowly than how they tossed Neil. But as you're moved slowly, you start passing by those tunnels. And every now and again, you can, see chunks of, dirt drop from the ceiling in those tunnels. Or, see what looks like a wall, but it kind of, moves.
So I think that might be a good time, actually, to introduce the fact that I've newly put aura perception on my sheet. Because I think that Britta would be using her heightened senses to try and get a sense of what the heck is going on over there.
Give me a roll. Div 6.
No successes.
Okay. You're not quite sure what you're looking at, but you continue on down, and you make it to Wynn and Neil. And you are dropped dump against the big bronze doors.
Britta looks at the strange shifts in the rock and what looks like walls moving, and for a moment she almost feels more capacity within herself. But the moment slips by and she gets shaken out of it by the clang as she lands. In response to the damage done earlier, there's a jolt as if she's expecting claws to come out of her again. But she rights herself and she looks at the two. All right, these look heavy. We'd have to pull them up to even try to open them.
Yeah, this feels like a Johnny job.
Out of curiosity on the way that this is built. So, as I understand it, the deeper we go into this chantry, the architecture of the mansion makes less sense and is more of just the palette out of which this place is constructed, correct? How wide is this hallway that's now, in the way that it inverts, a tunnel dropping down 300 feet into the below us?
It's probably 15 by 15.
Okay. The doors, the bronze doors, are placed at the end of this hallway so that when we get to the bottom of it, we're literally standing on the doors, correct?
Correct.
Is there anywhere to stand not on those doors?
Narrowly, yes.
Okay.
Hey, not to be the bearer of news that no one wants to hear, but I think there's still something moving in those tunnels. I didn't really get a glimpse of it. I can't tell if it's just the building falling apart or, dirt moving, but I thought the walls were moving, and I not in the way earlier. I know there was the stone man, but, yeah, we should keep an eye out.
Wynn gives a nod.
Yes. Full agreement.
Are these doors warm?
No, they're ice cold.
Britta had landed pretty poorly, and her hand had landed on the metal doors. She notices that they're ice cold, kind of, because her hands are ice cold. So there's not actually
The coldness of your hands is a supernatural curse. There's not something you are aware of. It only happens when humans touch you. They feel it.
All right, so nothing is comparatively colder or warmer to me.
Right.
Okay, but this still is very cold.
Yes.
Okay, so regardless, it does strike her that these doors are strangely cold.
Wynn kind of flies up and perches on Neil's shoulder.
Neil buckles under the weight.
She occasionally flaps to lift the weight a little bit.
Here's 3
Leave
act.
with Neil.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Caca.
So I'm looking over at Johnny and which one? Basically with who's next? So I'm wondering if you're just going to jump down.
I think Johnny might just jump down
I figured.
because he's still squirrely about letting people
yeah.
cast magic on him.
I mean, I feel better if you were jumping down while I was going down. But
It's 300 feet.
Well, I'm gonna jump from tunnel. I'm gonna try and jump down onto one of the tunnels to kind of make him shorter jumps.
But consider this cannonball. We
Give
don't
me
know which.
a strength, mind you, potence, plus athletics at
I guess
difficulty
that
4.
Strength, potence, and athletics. You said.
That is correct.
So channeling his supernatural strength into his body and allowing him to make these superhuman feats of strength, Johnny will, as his friend Miles is telekinetically dropped, he will go down with him using the tunnels as small handholds and try to make it down himself without the aid of magic. 7 successes.
What is the lower of your celerity and potence?
Celerity. 3.
3? Okay. So Johnny casually hops to the bottom.
Okay, well, if you're just going to make it look easy.
He kind of flashes you a cocky smile.
Dibs on piggyback out of here.
Starts taking a look down at the doors.
hopefully
Okay,
I'm
so we're going to wait here, and you just, do the thing that you do.
sounds pleasant. Thank you much. I assume they put me down without too much of a kerfluffle.
Yeah, no, they
Okay.
you land gently.
Just not Neil.
Johnny takes a look at the doors. Can he see any hinges?
On your end, you do not see hinges.
So that means these open down.
Yep.
All right. If I open these, they might fall in some kind of trap door. Perhaps you guys should try and get to the edges where there's still some wall to stand on.
Before Johnny has finished talking, Neil has pressed himself up against a wall.
Wynn flies over to Johnny and uses her beak to grab the rope that's wrapped around him. And kind of gestures, use the rope.
Johnny kind of nods, takes the rope off of him, ties it around his waist, and I guess, do these doors have handles or big iron rings or something? How are they,
So they have the really old school, knobbed doors with skeleton keys, but they're, way huge and oversized and, ornate.
So he'll tie the rope off just as a short length to one of the handles, so that way if he opens this and basically falls through, the rope will at least catch him on one of those handles. He takes a look at the other one, make sure everybody's backed off,
Britta has.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Wynn has.
and tries to open the doors.
The doors open, and they do swing wide open and kind of make a loud banging noise as it exposed this huge, vast, dark space below. And below, it looks like there's tons and tons and tons of bookshelves that were built into the ground. So now they protrude from the walls and kind of down the this pathway that's open where you can kind of walk past the bookshelves, or in your case climb down past. There is what looks like an open space that has a set of brass rings built into the floor, which is now a wall. And within it is a series of intricate symbols, very much reminiscent of Hermetic magic.
Do I get a sense of what that is? Whether or not that's a ward or...
You're not completely clear.
So so does Johnny immediately kind of like swing down into this room and like get caught on the rope that he's tied?
Right. You're basically dangling from the rope looking down at it.
Yeah, you hear Johnny kind of, what's up? The rope catches him and he kind of grunts a little bit and puts a thumbs up and kind of like winks at Wynn. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
How far is the nearest set of bookshelves?
Yeah, Johnny, can we get out of here? Or what's the...
He takes a look around. Could maybe he give the other length of the rope, the other side of it, to like one of them and like swing somebody over to a bookshelf or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he'll do that. He'll kind of like take out the slack on the opposite side of his waist and toss it up and be like, well, somebody want to tie that around themselves and I'll swing them down to a bookshelf?
I mean, not really, but let's do it.
I'm the least useful in this circumstance, so anyone else?
Britta picks up the end and ties it around her waist and looks over to Johnny. I guess this is,
Do another loop. I'll do a sheep shank.
all right. She looks at you, puzzled, looking for instructions.
Johnny kind of directs her to tie a better knot around her waist.
She does it.
That looks good enough.
Okay. Please don't drop me.
No, I won't. He really grabs onto the he kind of like pulls himself up to like where the handles are on the door. Really grips good on those and gets ready to kind of support Britta jumping down and swinging her over to the bookshelf.
Wynn kind of perches on Britta's shoulder and doesn't like dig in, but holds on.
She's ready to pull a New York maneuver.
Yeah, she's ready to slow acceleration if absolutely need be.
Okay.
Once everyone looks to be in position, Britta will, as instructed, jump.
Give me a Dex Athletics. Because of the teamwork efforts, your difficulty is 5.
Okay. Does graceful count?
Yes.
Okay. 5 successes.
Okay, with 5 successes, you easily make it to that next point.
I'll look around. I have heightened senses up. Any more information?
Down below, you now smell the scent of brimstone. And this place is very warm, particularly by the ring. With your heightened senses, you see what looks like wisps of smoke that occasionally move within that circle. And there's a couple of moments where they take on an almost humanoid shape, but dissipate again into nothing. There's something in that ring.
Can Wynn see anything different?
Did you go down with her?
Yeah, she was flying down.
Yeah,
on her
you see
shoulder.
the same thing.
Okay.
What's the illumination down here like?
None. It's like the torches, and that's about it.
And that's barely giving us a sense of this room.
Well, we're,
The floor, which is like the far wall, is just a like massive pile of books that are all like dusty and like kind of grimy and like kind of melted from years of like residue and like black mold and water.
We're getting warmer.
See if we can get nailed down next.
Well, guys, there's something... Ugh, I mean, the smell alone, but there's something I don't...
Yes.
Hello?
For a moment, the smoke kind of like takes on the silhouette of a person and then just...
Who are you talking to?
There's someone
Don't listen to it.
down here?
Untie that rope so I can toss it back up.
All right. Britta fumbles with the rope, but she does not take her eyes off of where the smoke might be talking to her.
Wynn, you got your eyes on a swivel down there?
Ooh. And
Good to
I will
hear.
try again with aura perception. 1 success.
You see a pitch black silhouette of an aura.
Do I have any knowledge or understanding of what auras mean?
This is your first time really kind of like using it, so you're not
Yep.
completely sure.
Absolutely.
But you do get a bad feeling from it.
What does it look like silhouette-wise?
So what you see is a black, like a deep, like ultra black aura. And it kind of takes the shape of a person, rail thin, with bony wings that kind of protrude from its back, like the bones of a bird. And on its head is this like crown of black veins.
Britta keeps her eyes on the figure.
You see me?
A very hesitant nod to the thing that's talking to her. Britta is looking over with pretty big doe eyes and tosses the rope back to Johnny.
Johnny immediately hucks that back up to where Miles and Neil are.
Wynn flies back up to make the descent with the next person.
Neil, I think she's talking to something down here. You should get down here ASAP.
I said, okay, there's definitely like a demon down here, so let's not...
A what? Just tie it.
Less talking, more doing.
Neil tries his best to tie a knot around himself.
Johnny cranes his neck to make sure he's doing a proper job. giving those dad vibes of, hey, you're not tying a good enough knot.
Well, yeah, he tries his best.
Maybe it's a
Give me a Dex plus Athletics, difficulty 5.
Here's my athletics.
You could always put a willpower.
2 successes.
There you go. Hey.
Neil does his best, and he makes it.
Unlike Britta, who like sort of gracefully Tomb Raider cat burglared her way onto these things, Neil slams into the bookshelf and like scrabbles for a handhold, but manages to do it, and then gets his way down towards the bottom to stand next to Britta. Hey,
I've waited for you.
yeah, don't. So the best thing to do here is just not acknowledge and don't talk to them, and do not touch or stand inside that circle.
Britta, the smoke dissipates for a moment. It's hard to keep track of the aura.
Yeah.
And where the smoke was, you see this like broken, ugly tome.
You guys see that, right?
Do I?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Do I?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So here
What you want?
is the deal. We knew that this was something demonic. I mean,
Do not presume to know me, Ashipu. You are a master of heaven and earth. But I am beyond that.
yeah, I know. Neil's weird right now because he's like very clearly terrified, but also weirdly feels like he's in his element, but also doesn't know what he's doing. It's a very weird combination.
Neil, what's Ashipu?
Ashipu, that's me.
Ashipu.
And Neil is sort of going to start, while waiting for like Miles and Johnny and everybody to make it down, Neil is going to start sort of pacing back and forth in front of where this thing is bound.
Neil, I need that rope back.
Wynn
Well, what? Oh, yeah.
Wynn takes the end of the rope in her beak so he doesn't have to throw it.
He will untie it, but seems completely distracted and absorbed now as he's looking at this, like these rings and the bindings, and like trying to get as best as his little like amateur sorcerer heart can do, get a figure of what the hell is going on and what he's looking at here.
Wynn brings the rope back up to Miles.
Miles, I don't know if you want to be down here or if you want to be our lifeline on the outside.
I think it might be okay for me to stay up here. So I will tie this to myself and you can...
You give me a heads up when you're ready to jump.
Right. I mean, you can go on down, right?
Me? I don't know, from the way I'm hooked up here.
Wynn brings the rope back down to Johnny and kind of motions for him to tie it, the loose end around the doorknob so he can lower himself down.
Johnny will pick up some of the slack that's going up to where Miles is, because he's got 50 feet of rope, so he can kind of play with this. Tie it around the door handle as kind of our anchor point, and cut him some more slack, so that he can kind of slowly lower himself down and start swinging a little bit back and forth to get out over onto the bookshelf.
Wynn pushes him. She just, as the owl, just kind of puts her head into his back and pushes him back and forth, trying to build his momentum as best she can.
Awesome. Johnny, a -1 diff.
8 successes.
Johnny, describe your extraordinary success.
I mean, Johnny just kind of seems like this might be old hat for him for some weird reason, spelunking down into a weird gravity affected mansion nightmare realm. Just kind of casually picks up some momentum, swinging back and forth, and manages to kind of let go of the rope the second he has the right amount of momentum to basically just step over down onto the to the bookshelf. With a few deft hands, he just kind of quickly undoes the rope from around his waist. Is there a spot down on this bookshelf where he can tie it off again?
Yes.
And we'll then tie it off so that we have the rope there if we need to get out. So the anchor points in this rope are the bookshelf, the handle on the door that's swung in, and then the other end is up on Miles.
I have waited for you
Why?
because you are of worth to me, and I know your secrets, Britta. I know who you are. I know who you were. I know who you are yet to be. Look upon your mark and know that I speak the truth.
Britta stands facing. Has the figure apparated again?
It's a voice.
So Britta's staring at the spot where a figure was standing. There's a twitch of the hand that
Wait,
has.
are you going into
No,
the circle?
I have not moved.
Okay.
No.
So can you explain? So I understand the way the room is. The room is oriented on its side, with gravity going towards the far wall of this room. If it were oriented the way we think, right?
Yep.
How is this binding circle oriented within that, and how is it suspended?
Whenever it appears, it is standing in the middle of the circle.
Well, can you explain the circle again to me?
The circle is a brass set of rings that have hermetic symbols drawn all over it, and it's like set into the ground. It's like they had built a summoning circle into the library itself.
Into the floor of the library?
Yes.
So in the way the room is oriented, it's basically in the middle of one of the walls.
Yes.
And the brass rings are all flat built into that ground. It's not like a astrolabe.
Correct.
Okay. Do the brass rings remind us of the pieces of an astrolabe that we saw upstairs?
Yes.
Ugh.
So Britta, remaining where she was, is just looking towards where the figure was in order to kind of have a focal point. And as she's kind of looking at the focal point, hearing these claims, there is a twitch of the hand that bears the mark, but she doesn't take off her glove. She remains looking at the focal point. Her expression, her brows are furrowed, her eyes are wide. She's listening, but she's trying to figure out the copper rings and like the arrangement in relation to the book.
You already know so much. You miss so few pieces. You know enough that you hide it from your friends, your family. And when they learn the truth, when they learn without you, they will hate you.
Is that said for all of us to hear or just Britta?
Everyone can hear what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
By the way, are the chimes going off?
This is not that kind of spirit.
Okay.
Those next to Johnny can notice that he is tensed up and bristling in a way that reminds you of when a dog sees something it doesn't like, and its hackles kind of raise and its back kind of swells a little bit. Its hair stands on end. He has that same feeling kind of just dripping off him. Even if you didn't have aura perception, you could tell that.
We share an enemy.
Who?
Not who. What?
What then?
You know what sleeps in the earth, what hungers for flesh. Nothing of creation can kill it. Nothing can end the thing that is already dead but lives. But I am beyond creation. So I say this to you. What will you give in exchange for the Codex? And what will you give to be freed of your mark, Britta? So soon they will know who you are. And Johnny will be your protector no more. And you know this. You know he will kill you. He will hate you. They will
What the fuck is this thing?
And you will be alone.
That lands on Britta, like, emotionally. You can see her kind of, like, tilt her shoulders back and kind of pull inwards. And she starts messing with, sort of like running her fingertips nervously over the marking in her glove. And she's still using that focal point to look into, but she kind of takes in a shaky breath and looks over and says, I'm not hiding it from them. It's...
Johnny puts a gentle hand on Britta's shoulder. Just 'cause this thing can spit poison doesn't mean any of it's true. Neil, what the fuck is this thing, and how do we get that book?
You know the mark, Johnny. Your sire's mark.
Neil, who has been still like studying the rings, but also occasionally throwing glances over to the big stupid pile of like scattered books. Internally, Neil has sort of that weird Malkavian sideways think of like, this thing is saying it's giving us the book, but it's entirely possible that it's just in that pile of shitty books and it's just lying. Looks over at
Last Crusade. Yep.
looks over at Britta and Johnny, and in like a weirdly confident voice for Neil, who is a walking panic attack, just goes, the weird part about a lot of prophecies and future telling is the sheer number of them that become self-fulfilling. And there's something in like the tone of his voice and the way he sort of looks at Britta and Johnny and the rest of the coterie that makes it seem like he's saying that directly to Britta without directly saying that to Britta.
You see something very weird happen in Johnny that I don't know if you've ever actually seen. He gives you this weird kind of confident like look when you show how confident you're being, and immediately kind of relaxes his bristling pose and kind of gives this like reassuring nod like, holy shit, there he is.
Hey, what's your name? It's not possible to hear a capital N when someone says stuff out loud, but Neil clearly says the word N with a capital, or name with a capital N.
I am Sophia.
Okay. I am going to look around just to see if, like, hey, that book that he claims to have inside that ring, which would be just sort of floating in midair on the wall, is that really there and where it is? Because there's a huge chance that it is. Or is that a fake out that we might be able to grab somewhere else?
Roll perception plus alertness. Your difficulty is 9.
I will be at diff 4.
Yep.
That is 4 successes.
With 4 successes, you do see that there are chunks of the Codex that are scattered among those books, but he does, in fact, have the majority of it. It is real, and it looks like he may have gotten his hands on it because he knew you were coming.
Johnny, do you remember the marking on my hand? The one that came up and like it was under my skin.
Britta, do not listen to this wispy, shadowy piece of shit. You want to talk about stuff? Let's do it after we're out of here in a nice, safe place under the moon. All right?
But nowhere is safe, Johnny. Not for you or your daughter. There is a reckoning coming.
When he says that, Wynn goes over and perches on Johnny's shoulder.
Johnny's making a frenzy check.
Yeah, boy.
I'll spend a point of willpower to
I'm going
resist.
to call it base diff 7.
So that'll be 6, actually, because I've been passioned down against frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Marking off that willpower.
Absolutely. Frenzying on a bookshelf in an inverted gravity room is probably not the best place to frenzy.
Yeah, you guys probably don't want Johnny just walking into the circle.
No, probably not.
Nope.
1 success.
Oh, yeah, that was the willpower. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, you see his eyes kind of glaze over and go white for a second, and then he kind of like, his jaw sets, and he blinks a few times, and he's with you.
Watched from afar, Johnny. But the jihad has drawn her in anyway. And she will be chosen. And she will suffer.
Wynn shifts back into her human form and turns to the figure. You shut the fuck up! If you're gonna come for someone, you come for me. You leave them out of this.
You are right to fear the truth,
I ain't afraid of shit.
but Joey should be.
Hey guys, I feel like these discussions are unproductive, so let's just ignore him. Wynn, Johnny, there's a few pages and some chunks of the Codex over in that pile, and Neil kind of like points them out. Could you guys? I don't want Arabella to get pissed on a technicality that we didn't bring her the whole thing. Do you mind? And Neil kind of like directs them to maybe go like, hey, go over there near the other books.
Johnny kind of, his chest heaves like a unnecessary breath. Something he hasn't done in a long time. It's something he used to do a lot, but he takes kind of a heavy sigh, nods, grabs Wynn by the back of the head and kind of like touches foreheads. Thanks, Wynn.
Anytime, buddy.
He'll turn back. How far is it down to the pile of books?
Like 20 feet. You can probably...
Oh,
You can maneuver around this room pretty easily.
okay, fantastic. So he'll jump down to go kind of start looking in the books and try to just tune out this voice.
Wynn goes with Johnny.
Neil, the Tremere, they know. They know you are an Ishibu, and the moment you return to New Haven, they will be looking for you. They are in your haven now, searching through it for the proof that they need, tearing apart your belongings.
The first thing that truly gets to Neil is not even like the Tremere no. It's that like they're wrecking your house and like throwing all your stuff in a pile.
A different pile.
And like this whole time Neil has been putting on this front of like, okay, I'm the Ishipu here. I know how to deal with demons. I do not know how to deal with demons, but I know how to like, I know what I'm doing. And then as soon as he sidesteps around the Ishipu part and starts talking to the Malkavian, Neil just is not okay suddenly. And is now like hesitates for the first time.
That will cause Britta to turn from the focal point and look to Neil and just kind of reach out and like touch his wrist.
Every issue, every jar,
Okay.
every newspaper clipping.
Britt, I'm kind of struggling.
From down below in the books, Johnny starts humming, do 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 do, and then starts singing "Moon Dance" by Van Morrison. Oh, it's a glorious night for, and he's horribly off tune. Johnny absolutely cannot sing or carry a tune, but he is just kind of being as loud and obnoxious with singing "Moon Dance" as he possibly can.
Wynn joins in. It's not good.
So, with the two of them singing down there, and then particularly when Britta takes his wrist, Neil just goes, having a little bit of trouble taking my own advice right now.
It's good advice. You should have.
The room goes completely silent, and those who attempt to speak find themselves unable to do so.
Miles.
Am I able
Reese
to?
has betrayed you.
Yeah, you're not in the room.
Oh, okay.
Reese knows that you have hidden an Ishibu. And Reese knows that you have insulted his offer of tutelage. But he will not exact his vengeance against you. It is Marcos who suffers. Marcos who is possessed and born. It is Marcos who you will lose.
Well, nothing to do about that now, smoke monster. So once we figure out this whole Ur-Codex thing,
You're wrong.
I'm sure.
I can help you.
And your help comes with an awful price.
Not at all. I think it is well established how effective you are as a student, so I do not request that. You need but bend the brass,
I mean, you were pretty good there until you like really raised the scale. We're gonna figure out this codex, and we're probably not gonna need your help. So I hope you enjoy the dusty basement of this minor hell.
I will remember that.
All right.
Neil, do you think that
Yes.
Can we talk? Oh, we can. Okay.
Neil and Britta isn't sure if the word will come out, but as she hears herself able to say his name, do you think the Tremere up there know that he's down here?
Yeah, I think we're a little bit past subtlety at this point. If they can hear us, it doesn't really matter.
Well, but do you think that they knew? Do you think that they wanted?
I think there is completely a reason that they did not just come get this themselves, considering nothing that we have encountered except for this has been something they couldn't have just walked straight past.
But if they knew that he was here, do you think they wanted him out?
They are super green. They're like Arabella, both of them. They've made pacts with demons already. So, here we are. I'm pretty sure they're just gonna pull a last crusade on us as soon as we get out of here. I don't think any of us are intended to walk back out, but I don't know that for a fact. So let's not, do the get the jump on them thing, because I don't know. But one problem at a time.
Just to clarify, the smoke monster is a bad deal, right?
Yes, yeah. Don't make pacts with demons. That's
Do we
as
know
much
what's a
as you
demon?
as much as you really, really want to.
Miles,
Yeah.
when Neil answers, that is not what he says.
Oh.
You hear something different. And when Neil calls out to you, he says, "It is dangerous. You would have to be careful. And you would have to be very, very good at what you do."
Oh boy.
Okay, for those listening at home, the expression that Tim just made, there's a bright grin on his face, and he just looked away from the microphone.
No. Oh no.
He's gonna touch the butt.
Look, it's been well established. The stick never works on me, but the carrot can.
Oh no, infernal venture.
Wait, do we hear that, or do we hear what
No.
Neil
Nope.
said?
You
Okay.
hear what Neil said.
Okay.
As all this has been going on, Neil, thinking he has answered properly, I have been looking at the thing. Is there a way that I'm aware of through my occult knowledge, through my general perceptions, to get that book out of the circle without either letting it go or just walking in there, which is also equally bad?
You have to trick it.
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
Without the proper training to specifically handle something like this.
Which I do not have.
Right. It gets pretty dicey. I mean, the easy way is obviously to just, broker a deal.
But that's a problem.
Sort of. It depends on what the deal is.
Yeah.
How big are the pieces that we have? Are they enough to make up for what we have
No.
already?
Down below in the amidst the pile of books, we were silenced. Do we still hear what we're doing down here, and we're just kind of like unable to hear the rest of the room, or like we've actually like been muted?
You guys hear each other. Okay.
Okay, but so that he kind of isolated our portion of the room while he spoke to everyone else, or the thing did.
Yeah, it separated the sound between the group of you and Miles.
Understood.
So my response to Neil would be, very good in which way?
Neil responds
I'm sure.
that you would need to be clear about what the arrangement is because it cannot break a deal.
Oh my god.
I was an 80s power broker. I've worked with rock star prima donnas before.
I was so busy being an 80s guy, I forgot to cure my demonitis. Okay.
Neil, talk to me. What do we need to do here?
Do we even know that it's the real thing?
I'm thinking it's the real thing. It is completely the real thing. He's got it. He's got it. We cannot go inside the circle. We
What?
cannot break the circle.
What happens if we break the circle?
It gets out, which is worse than one of us going in, which is also bad. So the way to... I'm thinking. Neil is trying very hard not to say the words, let's just trick it, out loud in front of it. You know, because he's not...
That'll make it a little more
A
difficult.
complete moron.
Okay, can you give me some ideas of some of the things I want to take off the table here?
Calls out, if all of the coterie ends up agreeing to aid it, Neil basically explains that, like, it would risk the deal becoming way too complicated and allowing it to slip things in. So simplicity is key.
Johnny pulls out a Morley, pops it into his mouth, and lights it up while he's fumbling through the rotten pile of books. Hey, Neil, why don't you have one of your smokes? That usually helps you clear your head.
To get back up to where Neil and Britta are, would we have to climb the bookshelf?
Yeah, but it's not super difficult.
Okay.
There's enough debris that you could probably work with it.
Neil takes out one of those, like, shitty cloves that had been in his pocket since Baghdad. And doesn't, like, light it, just kind of puts it in his mouth and just sort of, like, plays with it with his tongue like he's thinking. Does not hold it in his mouth like a cigarette smoker. And it just sort of rolls and thinks.
Wynn climbs the bookshelf.
How much is one night worth to you? The remainder of this night, which is, Neil looks at like a watch that he's got, what, probably like 6 hours at this point?
It, like, tells you down to the second how much time remains. Seemingly, like, very intimately familiar with the process of time.
One night of... I don't know if this is something Neil would know or not. Feel free to say no. If one were to allow an entity like this to possess you after the time is up, would it then return to the circle? Or, like, once it's out, can it just be like, haha, and, like, fuck off?
So,
Within the terms of the contract.
if you make an agreement, it will probably stick to the agreement. If you just let it out, it is going to do whatever the fuck it wants.
Yes, but if it agrees to term, if like, it is not outside the bound, because this is sort of like stretching the bounds of what Neil knows. I'm fully aware of that. But in concept, from Neil's understanding of, like, all his...
No, they keep their promises.
attributes, they keep their promises. So if I were to say something like, yo, you get full free reign for the next 6 hours inside my body, and then afterward, you know, in exchange for the book, and then after that time, whatever you do with that time, you go back to the circle. That is, like, you return to being bound within this circle.
Yeah.
That is something that, as far as Neil is aware, is something that could happen.
Yep.
Up on the bookshelf, Wynn kind of looks at Neil for a minute, trying to figure out how to express something without actually saying it out loud.
Wynn is visibly thinking at you.
You can see the think rays. And she kind of grabs his forehead and kisses it. And, like, puts her forehead against his.
Weird.
Miles.
Trying to figure out with Neil what the smoke monster may like or may want.
Do we hear Miles's responses?
No. He's just chilling up there waiting.
Yeah.
He mouthed off to the demon, and that was the end of it.
Sounds about right.
Yep. Now is he taken for a ride? Of course.
Neil calls out to you.
Yep.
And he goes, so the main thing that it will probably want is some sort of human host, something that can ride for a while. But whatever this is, it's so powerful that its presence can only be temporary anyways.
Yes.
You're kind of looking down and you kind of see Britta, like, go rigid, nervous, as, like, the group of them, you just hear them arguing and arguing and arguing. And Britta, it turns to the demon and she's like, I'm prepared to make a deal so that it's just me and no one else in the coterie has to, like, suffer. And I will make the deal for you to give us the Ur-Codex. And she starts to approach the circle
I will instead counteroffer to make a deal on my own.
Yeah.
Demons are such bullshit.
Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the classic world of darkness. Britta Ashcroft the Toreador was played by Rebecca Steigelfest. Johnny Saxon the Bruja was played by Garrett Gabbey. Miles Davenport the Ventru was played by Tim Davis. Neil Foster the Malkavian was played by Rob Muirhead. Wynn Cabot the Gangrel was played by Erika Webb. Your storyteller was Lex Lopez. Recording by Rebecca Steigelfest. This episode was edited by Rob Muirhead. The music used in this episode was January Grunge Love Fest by Technoaxe. Visit them online at technoaxe.com. Path of Night uses the 20th anniversary edition rule set of Vampire the Masquerade with a few limited house rules. Vampire the Masquerade is owned by Paradox Interactive. Make sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at Path of Night Pod, on Facebook at facebook.com/Path of Night Podcast, or email us at pathofnightpodcast@gmail.com. See you next time, Kindred.
Suplex is a maneuver that you do if you grapple like a dude like Neil. He's like, I'm not losing this. You cannot get away from me. I'm just gonna throw you around because it's fun.
I'm pretty sure he could suplex you.
City, bitch.
I was like, it's not a suplex. It's a cartoon where he picks you up by the collar and just slams your head into the ground.
Fucking choke slam.
I mean, that's the next maneuver Johnny has to do is choke slam somebody.
Nah, it's 1999. He's a Stone Cold Stunner.
God. What is that again?
The Stone Cold Stunner?
That's where you grab them by like the head and you like drop down and you like smash their face into your shoulder. Yeah, it's not that.
It is not effective at all, but it is very 1999.
And it looks cool.
What's the Undertaker one?
Chokeslam. Or Tombstone.
Well, the Tombstone,
That's
which he
what I
had to
thought,
stop
Tombstone.
doing for safety reasons.
Actually, he's the only one allowed to.
Is he still allowed to?
Everyone else was no longer allowed to Tombstone. But because of his height, he can actually pretty safely do it. So they let him do it. But there was a while where it was like, you own 6'2". I tombstone someone. Oh, you have a concussion. You almost died. Well, see you next month.
What is tombstoning?
You basically grab someone, you flip them upside down so that their chest is against like your stomach, and you hold their head between your knees, and then you simply all you're doing is actually dropping to your knees and letting go of them, and they fall, and it looks very dramatic. The problem is if they're not tall enough, the way you're holding their head between your knees can actually kind of cause them to
slam their head,
hit the table or the mat with the top of their head.
And actually perform the moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, being slammed down and weighing like, 250 pounds yourself straight onto the top of your skull is like...
It's real bad for your spine.
It's actually kind of dumb.
Turns out not a deal.
Bad time for everyone.
Really
That's why like all of the best wrestling moves are the ones that have no shot of like actually hurting someone.
Yeah.
Because then they can spam it. They can be dramatic. They can like the rock bottom is not. It's like a leg sweep.
Bottom. I was gonna say I'd rather rock bottom than stunner.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. You got me. Rock bottom! Rock bottom! Rock bottom!
Johnny slowly pulls off his sunglasses and tosses them to the side.
I mean, that has to happen at some point.
Man, it makes a lot of sense that Johnny would be
The
into
most
wrestling
electrifying
too.
Bruja podcast entertainment.
Yo, we're going back to New York at some point. We gotta pass by Stamford around.
Oh, but you don't meet those wrestlers if you go there.
Did you think I was gonna let you mess with my coterie?
Verde.
Did you think I was gonna let you mess with my coterie? Well, it doesn't matter what you think.
What a crazy journey.
Johnny trying out gimmicks.
Just looking in the mirror, fresh out the shower, slicking his hair back.
They call me
Huntress.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
It was
fantastic.
fantastic.
That part got me.
Huntress was excellent.
Yeah.
The whole
Oh,
fucking
so
thing.
good, yes.
Oh god, I love that so much in terms of writing and everything.
Oh,
It's just
absolutely.
I came up with my sick
You're the crossbow
catchphrase.
killer.
and that she practices it. Just my favorite.
I love banter characters, but I do have a soft spot for deliberate, like purposely written.
I
as
want to be a banter
I am
character.
bad
kind
at
of
banter
excited to see-
characters.